This is the TOEFL podcast, number 19. You're listening to the TOEFL podcast, the Test of English as a Foreign Language podcast. We are back after a little break, a little vacation, with some more podcasts to prepare you to take the TOEFL, the IELTS, or any English language exam. This podcast is going to be about office hours, when you can see your professor in his or her office. As usual, we'll listen to the dialogue read at a slow speed, followed by some explanations, and then the dialogue again at a regular speed, followed by a couple of comprehension questions. Now let's get started. I was sitting in a lecture waiting to get my test back. When I did get it back, I was shocked. My grade was a C-, even though I thought I had done really well. When I looked over the test to see what I got wrong, I couldn't understand why I missed so many questions. I decided to talk to my professor about it after class. Excuse me, Professor Myers?
Yes, did you have a question?
Well, there are a lot of questions that I missed on the test, but I can't figure out why I got them wrong. I was wondering if you could explain them to me.
Sure, I can go over them with you. The only problem is, I don't have time right now. I have to get to another class. But could you come by my office hours later today?
Yeah, that would work. Where is your office located?
It's on the second floor of the biology building. You pass by the lab, and there are a bunch of professors' offices there. Mine is number 215.
Great. What time should I stop by?
I will be there between 2:30 and 3:30 this afternoon.
Perfect. I get out of class at 2:15, and I can head straight over.
Sounds good. If my door isn't open, just go ahead and knock. I'll be there.
Thanks, Professor Myers. See you this afternoon. Our dialogue begins with Jack talking about how he is sitting in a lecture waiting to get his test back. To get something back means that it will be returned to you. He says when he gets his test back, he was shocked. To be shocked, S-H-O-C-K-E-D, means to be very surprised. My grade was a C-, he says, even though I thought I had done really well. When he looked over the test, he couldn't understand why he missed so many questions. To miss a question means to get a question wrong. Somebody might ask you, how many did you miss on your exam? Meaning, how many questions did you get wrong? Or how many points did you not get? So Jack decides to go talk to his professor, and he goes up to her and says, "Excuse me, Professor Myers," which of course is a polite way of saying, "I want to talk to you, excuse me." And Jack says that he had a lot of questions that he missed, but he can't figure out why he got them wrong. To figure out means to understand. It is sort of like solving a problem, to figure something out? Well, he asks Professor Myers if she could explain them to him. She says, "Sure, I can go over them with you." To go over something means to discuss it, to talk about it. Sometimes the professor may say, "We're going to go over chapter 6 next week." Means we're going to talk about, discuss chapter 6 next week. Professor Myers says that she will talk to Jack. The only problem is that she doesn't have time right now. She asks if he can come by her office hours later today. To come by here means to go to her office when she has her office hours. The expression office hours means the time that the professor is normally in his or her office. So usually in American universities, professors have office hours 1 or 2 days for maybe 1 to 3 hours. So you might have a professor with office hours from 2 to 4 on Wednesday and from 3 to 5 on Thursday. And you can go and talk to them during those hours. If you cannot go to those hours, then you have to schedule a separate appointment. And sometimes professors will say they have office hours by appointment only, meaning you have to email, call, or talk to the professor to set up a time to meet with him or her. Well, Jack says that he can talk to Professor Myers during her office hours. He says, yeah, that would work. That would work. When we use the expression work here, we mean that would be okay. Sometimes you'll hear people say, does that work for you? Meaning, is that okay for you? Is that particular plan acceptable to you? He asks where Professor Myers' office is, and she tells him. She says that it's on the second floor of a building. He needs to pass by the lab, and then he will see a bunch of professors' offices, after he passes by the lab. To pass by, 2 words, P-A-S-S-B-Y, means to go by, to walk by in this case. The lab is short for the laboratory, and in a science building, it's where the scientists, the researchers work, and the students also study in a lab for a science class. Professor Myers says there's a bunch of professors' offices there. A bunch of offices, B-U-N-C-H, means a lot of offices. It's an informal expression. People say, there were a bunch of people there, or there are a bunch of pencils on the table. Means there are a lot of. Jack says that he can meet Professor Myers in her office. He then asks, what time should I stop by? To stop by, 2 words, stop, and then by, B-Y, means to visit, to go to a certain place, usually for a short amount of time. Professor Myers tells him, and Jack says, perfect. I get out of class at 2:15, and I can head straight over. Perfect means great or wonderful. He gets out of class, meaning he ends his class at 2:15, and after that he can head straight over. To head, H-E-A-D, somewhere means to go somewhere, go in the direction of somewhere. To head straight over, S-T-R-A-I-G-H-T, means to go immediately to that place. Professor Myers says, sounds good. Sounds good means that is a good idea. I agree with your plan. She tells him that if her door isn't open, just go ahead and knock. Just go ahead means just go on. Feel free to knock in this case. Now let's listen to the dialogue, this time at a native rate of speech. I was sitting in a lecture waiting to get my test back. When I did get it back, I was shocked. My grade was a C-, even though I thought I had done really well. When I looked over the test to see what I got wrong, I couldn't understand why I missed so many questions. I decided to talk to my professor about it after class. Excuse me, Professor Myers?
Yes, did you have a question?
Well, there are a lot of questions that I missed on the tests, but I can't figure out why I got them wrong. I was wondering if you could explain them to me.
Sure, I can go over them with you. The only problem is I don't have time right now. I have to get to another class. But could you come by my office hours later today?
Yeah, that would work. Where's your office located?
It's on the second floor of the biology building. You pass by the lab, and there are a bunch of professors' offices there. Mine is number 215.
Great. What time should I stop by?
I will be there between 2:30 and 3:30 this afternoon.
Perfect. I get out of class at 2:15, and I can head straight over.
Sounds good. If my door isn't open, just go ahead and knock. I'll be there.
Thanks, Professor Myers. See you this afternoon. Now let's go over a couple of comprehension questions. Question number 1. In which building is Professor Myers' office located? A. Chemistry. B. Biology. C. English. Or D. Anthropology. The correct answer is B. Biology. Professor Myers says that her office is on the second floor of the biology building. Question number 2. When is Professor Myers going to answer Jack's questions? A. Before class. B. Tomorrow. C. After class. D. In her office hours. The correct answer is D. In her office hours. If you want to read the script for this podcast, be sure to go to our website at TOEFLPod19. And you may also want to listen to our daily podcast for more practice in listening to English. Go to www.eslpod.com. From Los Angeles, I'm Jeff McQuillan. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the TOEFL Podcast. The TOEFL Podcast is written and produced by Dr. Lucy Say. Your host is Dr. Jeff McQuillan. This podcast is copyright 2006 by the Center for Educational Development. TOEFL is a registered trademark of the Educational Testing Service, which does not endorse and was not involved in the production of this podcast.